Welcome to Dispatches, a production of the VVA Veteran Magazine and Vietnam Veterans of America, hosted by arts editor Marc Leepson. Let's begin.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 50 of Dispatches, a production of the VVA Veteran Magazine, coming to you live and on tape, as always, from Vietnam Veterans of America's national headquarters right here in downtown Silver Spring, Maryland. Our special guest today is Vietnam War veteran Shad Meshad, a pioneering veterans mental health advocate who's been a veterans therapist and advocate for more than 50 years, starting soon after he returned from his Vietnam War tour of duty, where he worked as a psych officer for the troops in the early 70s. Shad joined the U.S. Army in 1970 after receiving his master's degree in psychiatric social work from Florida State University. After coming home from the war, he founded and directed the Vietnam Veterans Resocialization Unit at the VA Hospital in Los Angeles, the first program focusing on the readjustment problems of Vietnam War veterans. During that time, he was among the first mental health professionals to study what would become known as post-traumatic stress disorder. In 1979, Shad was instrumental in creating the concept that became the VA's Vet Center program, the storefront psychological counseling center staffed at first by Vietnam War veteran health professionals and which now operate in more than 300 locations around the country. Tens of thousands of veteran service members and their families have received readjustment counseling at the vet centers every year since the program began in 1979. The author of the 1982 Vietnam War memoir, Captain for Dark Mornings, Shad founded the Vietnam Veterans Aid Foundation in Los Angeles in 1985, later renamed the National Veterans Foundation. The organization continues its work today, running outreach missions to homeless veterans in the Los Angeles area and operating Lifeline for Vets, the nation's first toll-free veteran-to-veteran crisis and information hotline. A longtime member of Vietnam Veterans of America, Shad will receive the VVA Excellence in the Sciences Award at the National Leadership Conference in Jacksonville in August of this year, 2026. He comes to us today from Los Angeles. Shad, great to see you, man. Welcome to
Mark,
Dispatches.
man, it's been a long time. It's so great to see you, connect, and just be with you. I can't wait to see you in August.
Yes, sir. And a long time, Shad, means back in the 1900s, is I think the last time we met face to face.
Long time.
Yes, sir. Let's jump right in. By the way, I keep calling you yes, sir, because you were an officer in
Oh
Vietnam.
God,
So
man, don't get me shot. There may be some enlisted people. Please don't do that, Mark.
so it's okay
Chad
for the
Man. Just call me the Madman, Chad Man. Just don't call me sir.
so it's okay for this XEM to be throwing questions at you. Is that all right, sir?
Yes, let's play ball.
Okay. All right. So I'm kind of a linear guy. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you growing up, and then leading up to how you joined the Army in 1970.
Well, I grew up in a in the South, Birmingham, Alabama. I was six kids. My father was French Lebanese. My mother was Scotch Irish. They had six kids. My oldest daughter was Down syndrome, mild Down syndrome. So I learned at an early age about disabilities or whatever. You know, I was a little athlete. My father was a big athlete, played ball at Alabama, but I got the mother's side of the family. I did my best through high school, but you know, I was a jock. I loved sports and things, and actually, uh, I was going to be a priest. I was thinking about going in the seminary, which I did my first year at a preliminary college, Spring Hill in Mobile. I lasted about 9 months and jumped the wall and decided, the celibacy thing wouldn't work, and I intermingled into the college there and graduated. And while I was there, of course, the war kicked off pretty strong. And well, I started in '62, but by '63, uh, we knew something was going on in Vietnam. These are the early years, but we had already been there. I didn't know anything about Vietnam. I just knew that, why not do ROTC while I'm there? going to school, a couple of classes a week, and marching while everybody's catcalling, on the parade ground at the college. And just an incredible time there. Then I went to, I got selected to go to the advance, which means your junior year, if you can at least march and and keep cadence. I got selected to go to the basic training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, summer '65. So I went, did my basic there. Uh, Lost about 30 pounds in North Carolina. Even though I was used to the heat, you're humping with an 85-pound pack every day for 40 or 50 miles. I mean, I was down to from 170 to 140 when I came home. My
Whoa.
mother, when I knocked on the door, said, "You look like a rat." I said, "Wow, thanks a lot." And then that year, luckily I was getting ready to, I got commissioned in graduation '86 infantry, second lieutenant, and at the same time, I got a fellowship to grad school. I wanted to be a criminologist because I had done a lot of work with prisoners, and I was just fascinated how people end up in prisons, and did a lot of that internship in college. And so I wanted to be an expert in criminology. And actually, I got a fellowship. And at the same time, uh, 3% of my class that got fellowships got a deferment. Even though I was a second lieutenant, I was deferred for 36 months to go get a graduate degree. And I went to Florida State. I had an offer at Michigan State and Florida State. So obviously I went to Florida State near my family. And there I really got interested in criminology, but also social work, because it was under criminology was under the social work department there. They're all a little different today. And so I got into correctional social work. They don't even have that now, but that was my line, and I was blessed to do that. And when uh, I graduated, I got another letter. I'm telling you, you're going to think that I was. I've had so many God shots, Mark. I'd even be here today talking to you once we get into this story. So I get a God shot offering. They had just started what they call KO teams in the Army, mental health teams. They figured they needed mental health teams in the war zone. And I got transferred, second lieutenant, into the Medical Service Corps, uh, just on paper. And I had to go to basic at Fort Sam Houston after I finished my 3 years, a year in Atlanta as the state criminologist under Lester Maddox. I mean, I got stories you can't imagine. And the, and luckily, I got out of Georgia because I criticized the system. I was the criminologist for how it was it was horrible, like so many were. But anyway, I got escaped into my new role as a mental health officer. I had to go to Fort Sam. I did basic medical training there. They really didn't have anything as far as counseling. It was a new thing, and became a mental health social worker, medical service corps captain at 23. I mean, I didn't
Whoa.
know anything other than my survived infantry training. That was it. And then another got shot. I got sent to Fort Leavenworth, which was the military prison. Uh, in '69, my first assignment after I left Fort Sam, to be one of the 15 mental health officers. There were five psychiatrists, five psychologists, and five social workers. And we had a population of 10,000. They called it the Castle, which is the maximum security prison there. And we had offices, and it was just amazing. Uh, 3,000 of them, of the 10,000 in the castle, were there on a marijuana bust.
Whoa.
Most of them out of
Yeah.
Vietnam. 3,000. I mean, serving 3 years. And, I learned so much, but I decided I really wanted to know. I've been all this training. The war had, Ted had happened in '68 while I was in grad school. And I was like, man, here I'm this officer. I'm sitting here and I'm dealing with marijuana bust guys that were just kids. I mean, it was not a didn't seem. I mean, it was nothing criminal about anything. It was just the way the military was. And so if you're familiar with prisons, they have the basement of all prisons. They call it the hole, is where incorrigibles are kept. And no mental health officer there wanted to run a group down there because most of them were caged up. There were like 30 in strip cells, concrete floors, just a hole to do your thing. And they were like wild animals. And I volunteered to go down there and give it a shot. And it was really that part of my first year where I learned about Vietnam, because just about all of them were angry Vietnam vets that were taking it out on everybody. They couldn't even stay upstairs in the population. Uh, and I started a rap group. And it was harrowing at first because I was locked up in a cage with 27 guys that had done everything. But I got to hear the real story, and mostly all grunts, blacks, Hispanics, a few whites in that group. And I was just shocked and at the same time felt for these men, and gradually worked half of them up in what they call the population, which is get out of the hole, because they're treated like animals. They always had three guards with billy clubs, and they just went in and beat the hell out of them. And they would throw their feces at the guards. It was a horrible scene. But I got really close, and I was, everybody thought, wow, what's going on down there? And I said, it was just people that are fucked up. Give me a break. You won't believe what these men have been through. And as they went up, and the other thing was my contract in the early 60s with the uh, the program, the ROTC program, was a 2-year active duty program. Right after uh, I enrolled, it became a 3-year program, active duty. So I had just about finished my first year at Leavenworth, loving it. But a psychologist came in to the prison. He was new and immediately got orders for Vietnam, and he'd just gotten married. His wife found out he's going to Nam. He thought he was safe. He's a psychologist. He's a captain like me, and she slit her wrist. She tried to kill herself. It was his first week he was there. He gets orders for Nam. And this was like October of 69. And my first year is up in January 1st. And I've been called nuts for it, but I talked to my commanding officer. I'd heard so many horror stories about Vietnam. And here I am sitting in this cushy assignment, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but it was like, man, this is the biggest event in my life. At least at that time, it was the biggest event. And I'm watching it on the news, and the war had went from doves to hawks. And I'm down here with these men that have just been torched by the war, mentally, physically, and everything. And I didn't want to miss the big event. I know I've been called crazy. I went into my commanding officer and I took the place of that other captain. And in January, I flew to Vietnam. Uh,
Whoa.
I remember
Yeah.
when I got on the plane, I said, what the hell have I done? I mean, all of a sudden, it's like I'm in this cushy thing and I'm really going into hell. And I didn't have to. And even the mental health team there that I was close to wouldn't even speak to me. They thought I had flipped out, it was gone. But it was more of a thing because my father, his brother, my uncle, my middle name's after, all served in World War II. And I just felt like a wuss. I had all this training and I kept getting these guys. I wanted to know, and I was tired of hearing, left, right about the war, and I'm seeing people coming back mangled in the protests or whatever. I wanted to make my own decision. The only way to do it was to go. I mean, I wish I could have been a journalist, which is kind of like my tour was, because I got to see
Yeah.
all aspects of it. So in January, uh, I land in Vietnam, and prior to that, they had tried two big mental health teams in the war. One in the South that covered 3 and 4 corps, and then one in the North, which is 1 and 2 corps. But they realized you got a 500,000 troops and they're scattered everywhere, and it was hard for them because it's a war zone, and to get to these centers, like you'd have here at the vet center, too in this city, it was just impossible to get there, and it was stupid. So they started breaking them up and scattering it. And when I got there, they had a one psychiatrist and two mechanics that were working the clinic up in Icor, Da Nang, at the 95th of VAC. And they said, "Wow, we're going to send you up there, replace that psychiatrist." I mean, we were small teams. We weren't like a full mental health team like they had. They broke those up and tried to scatter them to different units, the 101st, the 80s. They were scattered all over the country. And I got to Da Nang and checked in, and whoa, if you read my book, it was like it was nothing more intense and as exciting and deadly as that year, and it literally changed my life completely. And I've said it a million times. I mean, I just survived and basically spent my life working to different areas of 1 and 2 Corps initially, flying in and out. I was a flying psych officer because the commander liked me because his wife was Lebanese. I check in. He's in charge of all medical services 1 and 2. So he makes me the human services officers for 1 and 2 Corps. And that means every week I'd get in a dust off and they would fly me to all the MASH hospitals that were dealing with fraggings and racial tensions that year and everything that you're aware of that just was going on. It was just helter skelter. And I flew into these areas. I wrote about quite a few of them and did my best to try to patch the situations, but it really had no power. You go in there, and if the commanding officer, if I recommended this guy, today we'd say has severe PTSD, we need him back in the field with his saw, and he's got to get back out there. But thanks for the evaluation. You don't want to put this guy back out there. He's going to kill you and everybody else, which happened. And so, I mean, it was hysterical. I mean, when I talk about it, it's hard for anybody to imagine, particularly Vietnam vets that were really the grunts that fought it, unless I ran into them and tried to get them out of the field or some kind of help. And at night, I had to be I had to be a medic. I had to deal with at night. That's when the war was fought. I mean, my first night as AOD at our MASH hospital, I had 35 casualties. I had to bag half of them. To this day, it's hard to talk about it. I mean, young 18, 19-year-olds in different pieces, putting them in these bags and trying to find a place to hook their dog tag into if they had a mouth. Because if you remember the dog test, they had that niche. That niche was there when they were killed, so their identification would be locked before rigor mortis set in. I mean, I know this is gross, but this is what I was thrown into. I mean, at night doing that, and today trying to deal with people fragging and people killing officers and things like that. They were just angry. And then the black situation, I mean, it was real. Long Binh jail. I went down there. I mean, uh, it was. I don't think they've ever completely written about the chaos. Should be a book written on the chaos during that war with the grunts, with the soldiers. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just chaos. And I was just winging it. That
Yeah.
whole tour, winging it, doing anything I could to manipulate the situation because I'm a caretaker. I'm not a combat vet, and yet, I'm carrying a weapon. I have to fly in and out of hot zones or whatever. So I could feel what they were going through every day. And they couldn't fly out at night. I could hop on a dust off and get back into a perimeter that was safe. And the nights that I got stuck there was just war all night. It was just sitting in bunkers or whatever with these guys, and they, going on patrols and things. And I just thinking, wow, God bless these kids. If I get out of here alive, I'm going to do something. I had no idea, but I didn't think I was going to get out alive. I mean, I nearly died in October, shot down. Uh, Luckily, I was in the right place. Got busted up. I'm not going to say that, but and in the middle of all that, I got court-martialed uh, after my first commander left, who Leslie, the new commander, came in and was enforcing in a MASH hospital uh, stateside stuff. You had to have your hair, your sideburns here. We all had all the doctors and surgeons. We were just keeping people alive, and he's coming in, never been in a war. He's a full-board colonel, and I tore into him in my book, but I just wasn't going to shave my mustache off. It's still on because of the fact that I got court-martialed for it. It was
Yeah.
the famous court-martial of 1970, and it was a joke because as a captain, they tried to Article 15. My salary for the year was 10 grand. They tried to court-martial me for $10,000. I mean, court-martial me Article 15. I said no. So they said, well, we'll have to court-martial. And I said, go ahead. I'm not cutting this off. It was legal too. He didn't want anything. He didn't realize how stupid he was. He'd just come in. His whole career was working in, I guess, hospitals back there. And I had seen the devil. I had seen the elephant. I'd seen everything in those 6, 7 months. No fucking fat slob is going to tell me something. And I was legal. And my best friend was the attorney for the general of 1 and 2 Corps that handled all the court martials. He didn't know anything. He didn't know shit, but he's going to court martial me. And I talked to my buddy. He said, ask for a general court martial. He knew all the
Right.
regs. They kept trying to get me to sign for an Article 15, and I said no. So they signed up for a general court martial. Well,
A
I was
gen
I
a
was based
general court martial for
general
a
court martial for
mustache.
this.
Jesus.
It was, I mean, people, the story goes, I could be here all day telling you what happened after. But anyway, I'm locked on base. And here my life was flying in and out. I mean, my first commander was just loved me. His wife was Lebanese. I'm half Lebanese. It was like utopia, even though it was dangerous. Your team is behind you. This guy comes in, he's walking into the clinic, and we got guys with machine guns and stuff in our mental health clinic. Cut that off. Put that. Get your boom box. What I said, wait a minute. They were ready to kill him. He just, in our part of the Quonset hut, how the MASH hospital is set up. We were at the very end, and these guys are coming in. We make them take all their weapons off to come in and talk about stuff because it was lethal. So many times they'd shoot up the place. I mean, it was everything's insane, Mark. And so finally, the court martial comes. Jim, my buddy, the attorney, the JAG officer for the general, the case comes up, and the general, he described it as reading this. He rips it up. And not only did he remove the commanding officer and the commander overall, the guy that I was close to, of all 1 and 2, for letting this come to his desk with all the shit and the murders and the fraggings and rapes and everything that went on in all wars. But, and he's sitting here, what is this bullshit? And so the head psychiatrist, who was new, I won't, anyway, she came up when the trial was over, and she says, I think she sent most of the mental health social worker and psychologists. We got sent out. We were troublemakers, troublemakers. So
You're a
anyway,
troublemaker. You are a
troublemakers,
troublemaker.
because we would, my,
Hey,
my
Shad.
buddies all got transferred too, and they had nothing to do with the trial, but it was like, we got to clean, this mental health team does not understand war or whatever, like the mustache has anything to do. What the fuck do you know?
Yeah.
Mark, I'm
Listen.
sorry.
No,
You
you're
get me
good.
jacked.
You just
Change,
answered.
change the subject.
Okay.
I'm still pissed. I mean, it
Well,
was just helter skelter, Mark. My
yeah.
career. I mean, my year there.
And you just answered like my next 4 questions, but
I'm sorry. That was
no, you're great. You're great. You're great. Listen, so I mean, we can talk about, I mean, I want people to know about a lot about you after the Vietnam War and how you basically were instrumental in starting the entire Vet Center program, which has been unbelievably successful. And it had to do with how shabbily the VA treated Vietnam War veterans when we came back. But we won't have time to get into that right now. But
no.
I
I'm
want
sorry.
people. I
Well,
want.
you're gonna have the book.
Yeah.
You
No.
will get a a loving signed copy next year of my life from Vietnam till right now, talking to you.
Yeah,
It's going to be in there because I never thought I'd make the first year, the second year after I came back, and that journey. And that's why my wife and a few other people, you got to tell the story because a lot of it is very ugly.
yeah. And,
Very ugly.
Chad, I also want people to know, which we won't have time to get into, but about how PTSD didn't exist all this time. And you were one of the ones that worked
One of the
with,
pioneers.
yeah, one of the pioneers to beat him over the head and let him know that this was a medical malady. And it finally made it into the DSM-3 in
DSM-3.
1980. Yeah. I mean, people should know this man right here. And we all owe you a big debt for your work on the vet centers and your work on PTSD. And let's just end with talking a little bit about Captain for Dark Mornings. I know you talked a lot about what's in there, just going over your tour. So I mean, there are Vietnam War memoirs, right? And some of them kind of like punch all the buttons. I got drafted, I went, I did this, but this book is more than a memoir. Am I right in saying that? Can you
Oh
talk
yeah.
about that?
I'm telling the veteran story, mostly the story of the people I dealt with. It was just me, like as I said, like a journalist, mental health officer, medic. I got so many roles, but I people needed to know. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I from the stories from my uncles and my father about World War II or nothing like this. This was like a bad dream.
Yeah.
I'll shut up. It was just a bad
No.
dream, and I'm in the
Yeah.
middle of it. What did I do?
Yeah. The book is Captain for Dark Mornings. It's still in print. It's still available. I highly recommend it.
It's on Amazon.
Yes,
You can
sir.
get it in any way you want it on Amazon.
And let's just finish by the new book. You mentioned it a little. It's coming out next year. You want to just give us a sneak preview of it, or
Well, I
yeah,
already have.
yeah,
Uh, it's really about my journey coming home. I think the book ends with what happened to me in San Francisco airport, where I flipped out and almost got arrested heading home on Christmas Eve.
Hmm.
I was lost. I mean, I was as lost as anybody can write the story. I don't care if I was an officer, I had my education. I had that story in the book, whatever I mean, it's like 1 millionth of what happened. You can only write so much in my head. And I needed to process, but I didn't have anybody to process with. Uh, my family didn't know how I changed. I mean, here I'm the number one, their son. It's done all these things, whatever, and all of a sudden I'm like catatonic and angry, and I can't speak without four-letter words, worse words, five-letter words. I mean, it was just the language of Nam, and it's like, who is this son that's come back? I just knew I was fucked up, trying to find a place. I've got a 19-year-old girl. She's gorgeous. She wants to have a family. And I'm getting $50 of unemployment. I haven't applied for anything from the VA. And I'm this, quote, U.S. Army captain, reserve. How more fucked up does that get? We'll be here forever.
That,
The
yeah,
rest
yeah.
is history.
No, I think I like that part, and they'll be in your new book, correct, next year.
Oh, God, yes.
Chad, thank you for everything. Thank you for
God
all
bless
the
you.
work you've done for help so many people. And your work is continuing. And thanks for filling us in on dispatches.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And thanks to the dispatches team here at Vietnam Veterans of America's National Headquarters. Quentin Butcher, the indispensable Daniel Devora, Sean Venables, and myself. Dispatches was created by Michael Keating, and stay tuned soon for the next episode of Dispatches, a production of the VVA Veteran magazine. I hate to tell you this, but you can go on as
Nope.
long as you want when I ask you questions.
Oh, man. Where have you been? You need to be out here, Mark. I need more humor in my work.